to be able to get this job done. And all that is done in this bill. So just one more reason why we need to do it. The debt ceiling approaches soon, and every day that goes by makes it closer and closer, and we're going to solve that problem in this bill as well, and so many other things. So there's a real urgency. I'm very confident and encouraged by the developments. I spoke with Leader Thune last night. I spoke with individual senators over the weekend. We feel like we're moving in the right direction. So.
Speaking on California, the president said today that Gavin Newsom, in his view, should be arrested. Are you comfortable with the president saying something like that?
Well, I was busy all day today, and I heard that for the first time sitting next to the president when they asked him that question at the White House. I don't know what all that involves, but he gave comment there, and I'll stick by what he said.
As a constitutional lawyer, you always talk about the Constitution. Do you think that we are within the realm of the Constitution, sending in military troops onto U.S. soil when there are local law enforcement to deal with this issue?
Well, I'm told that the chief of police in Los Angeles made some comments suggesting that he was thankful that they had backup because they could have gotten far out of control. We've seen that in the past in Los Angeles and other large cities, and we saw it in the so-called Summer of Love when the progressives went crazy in the Pacific Northwest. We can't have that, and President Trump is ensuring at the front end with strong leadership that is not going to be the case. And when he said that Marines might be dispatched to Los Angeles, I think that's an important message that's being sent. Hopefully it has the deterrent effect, but he's federalized the National Guard. I think that's an appropriate step. They are bringing an end to that chaos. If they were not there, you'd have buildings and cars.
You don't think that stokes the flame somehow?
I do not.
Why not?
Because I believe we have to maintain the rule of law. And if the state and local leaders are unable or unwilling to do so, it is the job of the federal government to step in. We have the number one job of the government is to protect the people, protect their safety and their property. And if that's not being done by local and state authorities, then the feds have to step in. I think it's appropriate.
But those comments about arresting Gavin Newsom, do those fan the flames?
I'm not even sure the context of it. Honestly, I didn't hear it. I was busy all day. We had a retreat for some of our members and friends. So I'm not sure what Gavin Newsom has done or said, but I can tell you what I know that he's done is a complete dereliction of duty, as usual. I mean, I heard comments, and I don't know if it's true or not. Did Karen Bass say that the mayor of Los Angeles say that she was on the side of the protesters and they should continue to go out and ensue, have the chaos ensue on the streets? That's what somebody told me. If that's true, that is a total dereliction of duty and malfeasance in office.
My goodness. Like, what is going on? What is going on with the leadership in California? I mean, obviously, there are issues there when you've got cops having issues with protesters throwing Molotov cocktails and things like that. But, what do I know? I guess I'm not a cop. If somebody threw a Molotov cocktail at me, I guess I'll just run away. But anyways, welcome to Roman Nation. I'm AK, your favorite guy, and tonight we got a hell of a lineup coming up for you. So we got segment one, where Governor Gavin Newsom's fiery address to California following Trump's troop deployment into Los Angeles, how the media and both political spectrums are reacting. Then we're going to go to part two of a three-part series of past, present, and future, our second part in the Great Replacement Theory. We're going to trace the modern political roots to Ronald Reagan's 1986 amnesty bill and California's sanctuary. And then, of course, we've got a pretty fun video that popped up on my timeline that I hadn't seen in years. It's still funny today. So sit back and relax as Roman Nation starts now.
I'm hiding, I'll be so lonely. I'm hiding, I'll be so lonely.
Never gets old.
What are you doing here?
I was already here, so I figured I'd stay.
I'm blurry.
I love working with you, so I'm happy.
Absolutely. How was Sunset Ranch tonight?
Oh, it was good. I mean, Unfortunately, we have a lot of news to talk about, and it's not so nice news, but we're always happy to bring it to the folks and bring up some conversations.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So, Governor Gavin Newsom,
Yeah.
and I don't even know what to call the mayor of LA anymore, because she's just been, flip flopping on every single topic as far as it comes to what's going on in their city. Obviously, yes, they deal with protests before, but they deal with them all the time. And it's like, well, at what point do you do something about it, right?
Right. Right.
Because every single time you have a protest or every single time you have a riot, somebody else's life gets destroyed. That's an innocent bystander, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
All the time, right?
Mhm.
So like, at what point are people? Because this is why people are fleeing from California, and they're going and they're settling in other states. And people in the other states are like, if you're going to come here, don't bring that shit over here, right? So,
Right. Right.
and so it's really important to understand, like, it's good that you're doing something about it in the moment, but what are you doing about it long term?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And if you don't enforce the laws that are already in place, then that long-term vision is never going to materialize, because you're just basically throwing a band-aid on an explosion every time. You're not saying to these people, okay, you can protest, but how about we lay the groundwork of, let's talk about what a peaceful protest is. Do we really have to break it down like that? I think we do, because unfortunately, I was saying on Sunset Ranch Valley, and I was talking, and I was like, they're literally going like this. They're putting their hands up. It's kind of like, on the basketball court, like, I'm standing my ground, I'm standing my ground, it's like, and that's what they're doing to people. And they're saying, I'm peaceful. I'm being peaceful. I'm being peaceful. It's like, you're not being peaceful just because you say it.
I'm being
Right.
peaceful.
Right.
Being peaceful.
Right.
Poke both of your eyes out.
Yeah. So, and it's, the question always comes up is like, are our rights going to be, further taken away if we ask the government to step in and do something about it that's going to change, certain laws and jurisdictions and certain things? Like, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that it can't go on the way that it is. And, that's what we pay Congress the big bucks for with our taxpayer dollars, to figure out a solution to this ongoing problem. It's getting worse and worse. I mean, people actually hate this country and are demanding to stay. And it's like, it tells me that you're not trying to assimilate here. You're trying to stay here and pretty much invade our country and take it over and turn it into wherever you came from.
Exactly. Yes. And so, speaking of cracking down and cracking things open, head over to riseofmiddleamerica.com.
Nice
We've got
segue.
a full slate of shows. We've got true crime, we've got history, politics, pop culture, you name it. You want to be a podcast host, researcher, producer with Romanation, go on our Discord. That's your entry point. You'll find the invite pinned right at the top of the homepage. So right over here in the corner. And that has all of our socials and everything that you need. Also, if you would like to support us, all right, right down here, you can show your support by going to Romanation Network merch site. We have all of the latest fashion in Romanation. Also, down at the bottom of the page, we got a PayPal link. You can make a monetary contribution to help us keep the lights on. And we can start sending people to all of these protests and areas.
Mm-hmm.
We can get you on the ground coverage, because that's what we're working on right now. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll go as long as I can get one of those little pop-out chairs, because I'm old.
Right? I get you the Romanation, what's it called? The press pass.
Yeah. Wrap me in bubble wrap so nobody hurts me.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna try and go down to the 250th anniversary of the Army this weekend and try to get some coverage down there. I know there's going to be a lot of fun times going on. I know there's going to be protests. I know there's going to be everything down there. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'll make sure I bring everything in. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. and join us here Monday through Friday. Well, at least for us, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but we're crack-a-lacking every single day.
Crack-a-lackin'. Let me find out.
All right. So let's rant.
Okay, we have learned that the audio issue was on the governor's office end, and they have now fixed that. Let's listen in.
Streets illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral began. He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose. As the news spread throughout LA, anxiety for family and friends ramped up. Protests started again. By night, several dozen lawbreakers became violent and destructive. They vandalized property.
So, wait. So it wasn't violent before then? Not at all?
Just like sitting here like, and bro, did he look like he was crying before he came on there? His eyes are all like bloodshot. Anyway. He probably was crying a little bit before he came on camera.
Or screaming like a little bitch.
Probably. But yeah, like you said, it was totally friggin' violent. Like, you know, there were cars on fire. There were, you know, people throwing rocks at ICE agent cars and things like that. Like, are you kidding me? And obviously you didn't have it under control, sir. Just like you didn't have your fires under control and all this other crap under control that always goes down in your city, and homelessness and everything else. Mm-hmm. So you obviously, like Johnson was saying, you're in a dereliction of duty, you and the mayor, and I'm not exactly sure why. And you know what else too that pisses me off is they talk this thing about stoking the flames and fanning the flames and all this other kind of stuff. Like even the media is asking this question. Excuse me, you guys are stoking the flames by sending out, like, you know, I hate using the word because they used it so much against us, but like misinformation constantly about what actually is going on there, saying it's peaceful, saying that these people have a right to protest and wave their flags and all this other kind of, like, come on. Oh my gosh. It's like never ending.
So for all of you that have been hiding under a rock, we're unpacking Gavin Newsom's big statewide address on federal troop deployment in LA, right? You know, because he calls this an assault on democracy. And he says the president militarized Los Angeles without permission. And his biggest quote of the night was, what we're witnessing is not law enforcement, but authoritarianism, right? Because, you know, during the Summer of Love, when he didn't do that and everybody was asking for the National Guard, he became the enemy. So, like, again, which one is it, right? Because you talk about the same thing with January 6th, where he clearly asked Nancy Pelosi and the Sergeant at Arms to bring out the National Guard, and they both said no, and he became like the focal point of everything that happened that day. But yet when you go back to now, or not back, but, you know, fast forward to now, right? And then he finally says, you know what, now I'm going to put my foot down, and all of a sudden you about face, like pancake, flip-floppity.
It's crazy too, because sometimes I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. No, a lot of times I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Just the way that they freaking talk. People are clearly just having fun watching the cars burn. Totally normal.
We're watching Earth. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I literally, like I feel like I'm going up over my body and I'm looking down at myself. Like, really? Do I really have to explain this? Like all the flip flopping, as you put it. I mean, it's like exactly what they're doing. And it's whatever the narrative they're trying to spin. They're trying to push us into some kind of wall that allows all these people to come in. And what they want more than votes is they want people in here who don't have love in their heart for this country, who aren't planning to assimilate to our values that we've had for hundreds of years, and are ready to be controlled by, you know, a tyrannical government and probably push us into some communist country. So that's what they want, these people.
Right, because we've heard this song and dance before, right? This isn't the Summer of Love, right? Some of these, like, it's not like a bunch of Americans getting together over the death of somebody, right?
Right.
A lot of these are foreigners waving foreign flags on our soil. Most of them not even U.S. citizens.
Right.
Right. So what exactly are we supposed to do when one of them decide to throw a rock at a vehicle and it bounces off and hits a kid on the head and kills him?
Yeah. I mean, I heard a story. Somebody said I didn't actually like look. I mean, because you can't. Nobody. Media is definitely not covering it, and I wish I found the video. But I heard somebody saying that there were people dropping. I forgot who it was now. People dropping rocks or like big pieces of because they were like pounding the ground to break off bricks, and they were dropping it like onto the highway. But you can kill someone. There were people that were put in jail. I remember that young kid, wasn't it, that just a couple of years ago that was put in jail because he threw a cinder block off of a bridge onto a highway and he killed somebody. So like what are we doing? I mean, and then they try to say like, oh, they're not illegal. What they're doing is a misdemeanor. It's not a crime. So they're getting everybody like twisted in their head about like what's actually going on. Like, why? What is your end game in all of this? What are you trying to do?
All right, so let's give them the benefit of the doubt. All right, so let's look at the liberal take. Because liberals see Newsom as courageous defender of democratic norms, warning of a deeper implications for civil rights. Right. So this is from the AP. Trump's mass deportation leaves Democrats more ready to fight back. All right. California Governor Gavin Newsom looked straight into the camera and staked out a clear choice for his Democratic Party. The governor positioned himself not only as the leader of the opposition to President Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda, but the de facto champion of the immigrants now being rounded up in California and across the country. Many of them, he said in the video address, were not hardened criminals, but hardworking people scooped up at Home Depot lot or garment factory and detained by masked agents assisted by National Guard troops. Honestly, I think this is Newsom trying to save his presidential bid.
That's a big problem too, is like a lot of these people, like, because you remember what happened with DeSantis, right? He kind of like abandoned his state for a while when he was trying to run for president, and I like we keep seeing that as like these politicians, they're so, I mean, listen, we're all trying to work and move up in our own careers and what like that, but it just seems like they're all so worried about pushing forward. Like you can never tell like what they're actually trying to do, and they abandon their current duties just to have this kind of like persona that they can skate all the way into the White House eventually, or some other big position.
Right. But speaking of crimes that are being committed, especially the heinous crimes. So if I break the law, as long as I'm a hard worker, we can just sweep it under the rug.
Right. Well, they tried to do that with all the looting, right? They tried to have this narrative where it was like, oh, well, these people are hungry, so so what? They're stealing Nikes? Is that
exactly? Well, I mean, here's the thing. Most of the country voted for this.
Exactly.
They voted for this because they see the light at the end of the tunnel closing if they don't take care of this problem. Right. Even CNN themselves today can see that support, because the biggest jump in percentage when it comes to support for Donald Trump, when it comes to immigration alone, was legal immigrants jumping from 37 to 48% from 2020 to now.
Yeah, I talked to somebody today in comment section on TikTok, and he was like, I'm a Mexican American, I'm here legally, my family's here legally, and they're making us look bad. They're making people, like they're stoking hate by allowing this crime to go, and like people who are here illegally. Like, listen, yes, we needed to get the criminal illegal immigrants out first. That only makes sense. You got to take care of these like extremely violent criminals first. Get them out of the way. And then, yes, we are going to work on people who are here illegally. Over the years, I mean, this has been going on for quite some time, where people, American citizens can't get jobs because these companies, and there's like a part to that too, where it's like these companies have to compete with other companies. Like you think of like restaurants who have like illegals working in the back, or like all this other kind of stuff, but like pretty much everybody was doing it. So I'm not saying that that's okay, but it's kind of like you're creating a foundation for where these small businesses and other businesses can't profit if they don't hire people that they can, give like pennies on the dollar to.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
you
a
heard,
problem.
and you know what's funny? Did you hear what I don't know. I don't know if they're gang members or the Mexican gang members down in Compton said.
Mm-mm.
They were like, listen, don't bring that crap over here. If you do, we're going to execute you on the spot.
Whoa. Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
clearly not everybody is on the same page. And that's been the issue with the Democrats.
Yeah.
Is that they march in lockstep, but they're never on the same page. They're all reading different books.
Mm-hmm. They're never consistent with their crazy. I stand there
For
for
their
years.
messaging, right?
Mhm.
And this is the reason why you have the percentage dropping, being an all-time low in history for them. And that happened over the matter of what, 5-6 years?
Yeah.
They've been on top for 50, 60 years.
Yeah. Well, they're no longer. It's quite obvious because again, like we're talking about like jobs and how people aren't getting their jobs. You can say that you're for the laborers and the working class, but you're not. You're for the illegal working class, and that's putting a stain on this country. That's bringing wages down and all this other kind of stuff. And there's so many American citizens out there that are looking for work. This is stuff that's been going on for like way too long. And another thing is like, the more you bring people in here in just like a mass and they're not trying to assimilate, they're not trying to learn English, our country just gets like split down the middle and then split again because everybody's like speaking a different language and we have to change, documents and things like that. Like I always thought it was so weird how like somebody who doesn't speak English can go and get their driver's license and can fill out, have the form in Spanish, but yet all the signs all over the road are in English. So who are you putting out there to drive? They can't even read the freaking signs. It's like a hot mess. I mean, it's just a web of chaos that needs to be like brought back down again so we can flourish.
Exactly. So Gavin Newsom, obviously, he launched his lawsuit against the federal government under the 10th Amendment. So this is, it's the wrong tab. There we go. This is from The Guardian. California files lawsuit over Trump's unlawful deployment of National Guard. California on Monday filed a lawsuit against Trump's administration, accusing the U.S. president of unlawfully federalizing the state's National Guard to quell immigration protests in Los Angeles. Donald Trump's extraordinary deployment of troops to Los Angeles exceeds federal authority and violates the 10th Amendment, an unprecedented usurpation of state powers, according to the court filing. The governor of the state of California, Gavin Newsom, obviously, action to protect the state against illegal actions of the president. Secretary of Defense, Department of Defense, deploy members of the California National Guard without lawful authority and in violation of the Constitution, which we all know is false because under, Article 10, he is, especially when he's trying to protect his own federal agents.
Exactly. They're out here. They're human beings just like everybody else. They have families to go home to. They have a job to do. Trump was given a mandate by the American people, and he ran on mass deportation. That was the hugest thing that he ran on. That was the top priority, and that's why he won, because people were done with it. And now you're going to what? And then you say it's bad for democracy. Okay, so isn't that go by like majority? And the majority are saying that they want this. So what are you going against democracy?
Yeah.
Lie and lie big. Yeah.
Exactly. Now the conservative here, you know what? I'll just let Fox take it away. Oh, can't hear.
Reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Again, thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. But that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation.
It went dead again. But Mark Wayne Mullen, notice what he does. He's blaming Trump. Law enforcement can't even ask if they're in the country legally. I mean, that's the unbelievable thing to me.
You know, I never fired.
By the way, he needs a tech operator.
He does. And Sean, I was going to say that I never fired anybody for making a mistake. I fired a lot of people for not admitting he made a mistake.
Probably do
Gavin Newsom needs to be fired as governor. There is no way this guy should be running that state.
Well, I will tell you this. I think.
All
right, let's listen to him. Let's dip in again.
Trump
Let's
is
see.
pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength.
Does he have any proof of this?
Yeah, I mean, he's wild, bro. Like, because again, they're being deported, and just a little plus to that. Didn't President Trump come out just recently and say he would give like $1,000 to anybody who wants to self-deport? You know, Tom Homan said before they actually took office, like, you know, if you leave on your own, then you could try to come back at a later date, you know, the right way. You know, they were given all of these heads up. And then your party went out with the help of the media and told these people, no, this is how you avoid ICE. This is how. So you're the one who made this problem, sir, not Donald Trump. He's giving us what we asked for.
Nate, we've got a defector here. Let's see what he has to say. He says, do you guys come up with this bullshit before the show and any make bullet points to hit? Because I hear a lot of shit that has little logic behind it. Statements that sound like you thought it through, but when you listen to it, it's clearly you didn't. Just let me know which statement that is, and I'll clarify it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Be a little specific, and then we can talk about it.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that they, you know, this is the kind of thing that they do. They point fingers at others while pointing three back at themselves. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're saying, oh no, it's the other ones that are making the mess. Like, no.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, like, right-leaning voices, they kind of mocked the glitches, but obviously that happens. You know, I'm not going to – he set this up in a very short period of time, so trying to get that message out to the masses and for him to be able to do what he did at that time, I mean, I commend him for it. But at the same time, like, you're gonna have to put your money where your mouth is and prove your facts here. Like I was saying, he was arresting seamstresses and dishwashers. Show us who they are. Let us know. Let us know exactly who these people are, and let us know what their immigration status is, and then we'll talk. Don't just say it just to say it and think that we're not going to do our research on it.
Exactly. I mean, you know, you have people in here that are overstayed their visas, their work visas. Maybe they didn't even have they're totally undocumented altogether. And and you know, these businesses, they should get in trouble as well for hiring people that are illegal. But as I said earlier, it's kind of like a slippery slope, because it's been going on for decades, where, you know, all of these businesses, especially the small businesses, they don't have like huge franchises and stuff like that can, you know, take whatever money is not being spent, whatever. Oh,
that's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, like they have to compete with these other businesses who are doing the same thing. So it's like it's a hot mess. You know, and that was that invitation to say, like, if you're here illegally, you can self-deport, and you can self-deport with a check, and you can go back home to where you came from, and you can apply for citizenship and wait in line just like everybody else that can't just cross the border and doesn't have the means to do so.
Exactly. And I said this in the last episode. You know who to blame? You know who is to blame for all of this? Ronald Reagan, which we're going to be talking about in Past, Present, and Future, the Great Replacement Theory.
since this is the last speech that I will give as president, I think it's fitting to leave one final thought, an observation about a country which I love. It was stated best in a letter I received not long ago. A man wrote me and said, "You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American." Yes, the torch of Lady Liberty symbolizes our freedom and represents our heritage, the compact with our parents, our grandparents, and our ancestors. It is that lady who gives us our great and special place in the world. For it's the great life force of each generation of new Americans that guarantees that America's triumph shall continue unsurpassed into the next century and beyond. Other countries may seek to compete with us, but in one vital area, as a beacon of freedom and opportunity that draws the people of the world, no country on earth comes close. This, I believe, is one of the most important sources of America's greatness. We lead the world because, unique among nations, we draw our people, our strength, from every country and every corner of the world. And by doing so, we continuously renew and enrich our nation. While other countries cling to the stale past, here in America, we breathe life into dreams, we create the future, and the world follows us into tomorrow. Thanks to each wave of new arrivals to this land of opportunity, we're a nation forever young, forever bursting with energy and new ideas, and always on the cutting edge, always leading the world to the next frontier.
We kind of get the point here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did this all start, right? How did we, going from the last segment, going into this one, we're going to kind of go backwards a little bit, all right? And this is with the Immigration Reform Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. Immigration Reform and Control Act, or IRCA, was passed by the 99th U.S. Congress and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan in November 6, 1986. The Immigration Reform and Control Act legalized most undocumented immigrants who had arrived in the country prior to January 1st, 1984. The act altered U.S. immigration law by making it illegal to knowingly hire illegal immigrants and established financial and other penalties for companies that employed illegal immigrants. Nearly 3 million people applied for legalization under IRCA through the update in the registry date, along with the law and SAW programs enacted by IRCA. Approximately 2.7 million people were ultimately approved for permanent residence. And I believe that a lot of the people that were approved for residence were in the state of California. And if you notice, the state of California used to be a red state. And it was after this where it turned into a blue state.
Wow. So it's
Right?
like the playbook. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but it wasn't a playbook yet because nobody thought that, it was going to turn into what it turned into today.
Right.
But there is a line, and this is what I figured out because nobody else is talking about this. Nobody else is connecting the dots between the IRCA and now today when we're talking about the sanctuary cities and all the policies and things that they have in place now. All stemmed from this. Okay, so hear me out. Actually, you know what? I think I've got somebody who can explain this a little bit better. So let me pull this up. No.
I came to the United States in 1979. We came to Texas and then we moved to Virginia, which we spent most of our life till now. So far, it's been good.
I believe in the idea of amnesty, who have put down roots and who have lived here, even though some time back they may have entered illegally.
He truly does get the credit for citing that legislation.
As a young man, I had to be hiding so I don't be recruited either from the military or from the guerrillas. Yeah, there was no future for a young person like myself out there, so I made the decision to leave the country.
I have to go on the mountain and the desert, no drink water for one day, but it's better to get better life.
I started following politics actually with Ronald Reagan, about the campaign of Ronald Reagan. He had a good ideas, I think. The fact that he had the guts of amnesty, some people called back in '86, is something that a lot of politics are kind of
The
afraid.
puppy.
I know.
I think that Reagan would have a very hard time today, just as Jeb Bush does. Jeb Bush is trying to sound reasonable on immigration, just as Ronald Reagan was in the 80s. And he's having a hard time.
I always hope to achieve something in life and live the American dream, and so far, so good, you know. We are not rich, but we are somewhere out there. We're not poor either.
Right. So here's the thing. Well, actually, so Doug says Michael Reagan. I think I think he meant Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Former president. Oh wait, no. Michael Reagan, former president's son, said that his father never regretted the amnesty part of the 1986 compromise, but did regret that there was no follow through on the enforcement measures of border security. Right. Right. You know, because again, it legalized 3 million undocumented immigrants, and many of them settled in California. The demographic shift created voter blocks and shifting state policies because, of course, you know, they're going to vote in their own best interest and not necessarily in the state's best interest.
Right.
You know,
And then they would have to wait for the census too to come out to give them their extra electoral votes, like to actually make the big, right? To make a big impact on elections.
Exactly, because California sanctuary policies, they were brought up to protect immigrants, attracting more newcomers. So, of course, everybody's like, oh, well, if they can do it, we all can do it. And that's why you have people running across, not understanding how the policies work, because obviously they can't read English.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so they're not going to know exactly how those things work. But the policies reinforce community trust and electoral participation just in those communities. But nobody really knew the effect that it was going to have until now.
Right.
Right. Because I mean, let's think of it. All right. You got more legal residency, which turns into citizenship, which turns into voting, which turns into whichever party is bolstering their base, which were the Democrats. Right. And then it wasn't long after that that California turned blue.
Right.
And I believe that this was a massive pipeline into the sanctuary cities because the Democrats saw the power of what giving amnesty could do. And they saw what happened with California. That's the largest state in the union.
Right.
So if we can flip the largest state in the union, we can flip any state.
They've been trying to
By
flip
doing
Texas
so.
for a hot minute.
Yeah, they've been trying to flip.
They're working on
Texas.
that.
They tried to flip Ohio. Remember, we had the whole thing about Springfield, Ohio, and all of the immigrants that were what was it called?
Oh, the temporary protection status for the
Yep.
Haitians. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we already talked about that one. Right. Yeah. There we go. So it saw the power that it could give, and then in districts passing the sanctuary measures between 1990 and 2000, the turnout amongst Latino voters rose by 6 to 8%,
Which is huge in politics.
which is massive.
Yeah.
Right, because now you've got a stranglehold into those communities. Right. So now when Donald Trump comes in and he starts talking about, oh, well, they're using this as a tactic. Well, it's already documented that it happened.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't say that it's not happening when it already happened.
Right. Right. They're trying to do the same thing with birthright citizenship because that was given for the former slaves, and they're trying to say that goes for anybody who steps on this soil and pops out a kid.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's the same problem where if you have a Chinese nationalist that comes across the border, gives birth to a child, they become a U.S. citizen, and then they take them back to China, teach them all their ways over there, and then they're a dual citizen. So now they can come back over here, become president of the United States, and implement policies based off of their own inner circle from things that they learned over there versus, actually learning about the American way of life.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like wondering, because I know this is like it's a country, it's a melting pot, right? We have a lot of different people from all over the world. We do welcome immigration as long as it's legal. But you know how like we have like, just think of something as simple as like, so if you don't have people like coming here to assimilate to this country and they want to bring whatever they have from their country over here and implement it here, like you hear about all these talks about Muslims trying to get Sharia law passed in certain areas. They're trying to. So just on something, I mean, you could think about it like, in the bigger sense of like how, Sharia law and everything that entails in that. But like, think about just like holidays and things like that in schools and places of business and what constitutes a national holiday. I mean, kids barely go to school as it is. I mean, they have all the Jewish holidays, the Catholic holidays, the national holidays, whatever. So are we supposed to just every single holiday, all the Chinese holidays, the the Indian holidays, the Muslim holidays, and all this other kind of stuff, we supposed to implement that all into our schools and like just have kids go to school maybe like 1 month out of the year?
Well, here's the problem I have with this is that we have to allow them to be able to do those things at work and at school, but have no problem taking the Christianity portion out. That's what I have a problem with.
It's replacement. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even just replacement. It's saying, okay, we are a Christian nation of Christian values, but yet in our schools we can't do that. But someone else from a different country with different values can come in and preach their own in that place, and then you can apply that to almost anything, and it would make sense, right? I'm not going to go on that bridge right now.
I know. I was trying not to myself because I'm like, it could get really bad when you talk about certain things. But yeah.
Exactly. But that's the playbook.
I heard in Canada. Am I not mistaken? I just heard this recently that they just they just passed something where they're going to allow polygamy because of all the Muslims that they have coming in there. I heard something about that just recently.
Now you gotta make me, let's see.
Yeah.
Canada polygamy laws. All right, let's do a little short video here. Okay, let's do this one. It's probably going to be, I don't know. It's probably not going to even be in the conversation, but let's see what this one has to say.
Multi-parent families like thruples to be granted legal rights in Quebec.
Wait,
all right,
what?
So you're saying, what's a thruple? Once again, the whole new language that we have to learn in terminology.
What does that even mean? Like, why don't you tell? I mean, what?
It's basically 3 people. Be any combination of people, and now they're called multi-parental families. Have now been granted legal rights as basically a family unit. So instead of a family being defined as, let's say, a father, a mother, and children, it's now being defined as these people that parent the children.
There's too many of them.
So what are some of the problems with this?
When you have this random assortment of adults in this relationship, how many of those
the right video.
Children?
It looks
I
like a
worry about
bash
what
at
kind
it.
of abuse could occur in these types of families.
When you don't have the right starting point, when you don't have the right worldview, when you don't have the right foundation, you open the door for anything.
What's saying it just has to be 3 people? Why can't it be 4 or 5 or 6? I mean, according to their starting point and their worldview, there's no stopping how many people could be part of this.
Stop it. Get some help.
Why do we know that a marriage is between one woman and one man? Based on the Bible. But here, because they're going based on their feelings or their desires or whatever they have in their mind, they're saying 3. But based on what?
Disappointed!
children have a right to a mother and a father. We live in a fallen world and it's not perfect, but instead we're creating situations in which they have 3 people that may or may not even be legally related to them as far as adoption. It's just 3 people that are quote unquote interested in the child.
This, to me, might be considered kind of a step backwards, wouldn't you say?
It's crazy. Yeah, it might still be like illegal. Like I'm not finding like the stuff, but they're moving in that direction. There's conversations about it. And what other values are we gonna start implementing in the Western world?
And how exactly are you going to explain that to your child?
All right.
I mean, we already have enough problems as it is trying to explain stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That's a topic for another day. I'm totally going to have some topic, if not on Friday, sometime next week on that, because
yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, if you do though, you have to have it on FAFO. Like you probably should.
Where's Fluffy? We definitely definitely got a topic for him. Oh my goodness! What'd you say, Taylor? 10-man families, you pick.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the world is lost its ever-loving mind. I don't know.
Oh man. So, anyways, getting back on track.
Yes.
Reagan starts an immigration wave. Sanctuary cities follow to protect communities. Once the amnesty was made more visible, then it led to a growth in blue-leaning regions, solidifying Democratic congressional seats in California and extending to other states, right? So this is why we have these battleground states now, which used to be red, but now they're like hanging on by a thread. So, why do you say sanctuary cities are bad? Because the critics are saying that it's engineered and feeding into the Great Replacement argument, politically motivated demographic shifts, where proponents argue that the humane and respects family stability and boosts representation of marginalized communities. But which marginalized communities? Just any marginalized community across the planet?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like they're not specific about this. And this is the reason. It's like when we ask these questions, those questions are never answered, and or at least they're not answered correctly. And this is the reason why people are hesitant to follow suit.
Right. And the Democrats keep saying like, you should push for immigration reform and stuff like that. But yeah, there are a lot of things in place now that we can use. But yes, we do have to figure something out long term as far as immigration reform, just for all the points you just said. We have to lay it out a little more clearly. But, even if you do that, I mean, you have people, it sounds like a broken record, but you have people in the media and you have politicians that, are trying to keep their base, voting for them. And they're going to lie, and they're going to, they're going to lie in such a way where they're very careful with the way that they word things. And because things are not very detailed, it can be, interpreted in certain ways and whatnot. So they're very sneaky about it. There has to be some kind of, like you said, some kind of curtailing where it's more detailed and more specific.
Yeah. Because going from then to now, I mean, look at what's happened even over the last 5 years. Gang violence in places that never had it, Lake and Riley, the border crisis, and then especially the border,
right?
And we had like 20 million people cross the border that we know of,
right? I mean, like, what do you say? Like, would Congress have to come together and declare that a certain country is under complete chaos and we should grant amnesty to people that coming from there? Should it be one country at a time? Like what, and what does that look like? How would you determine that?
And not only that, but especially when it comes to immigration, it's up to Congress to make changes to that law. But because it's so
divided, yeah,
not even divided, but what's the word? Like when
like polarizing.
It's so open.
Oh,
it's so open-ended
yeah.
in the way that they set that up. And they didn't have any measures to protect the border after the fact. And now we're kind of like in this gray zone and like an in between where anybody can kind of jump in and make their own interpretation of law. Right. So legitimately, the Supreme Court needs to jump in and just be like, all right, here's the law.
Right. I know they got a lot on their plate, but like, dude,
But
this.
they can't really do anything about it because the interpretation is so open that they have to kind of just be like, okay, well, we're not here to make the law. We're only here to interpret it. You guys are going to have to make that change.
It would be good kind of like, but I don't know, I mean, now we're dragging it out even further because it takes a while to go here, it takes a while to go there. But like, it would be cool to kind of go through the Supreme Court first to kind of see how it's supremely interpreted by these justices as it is right now.
It would
and
be
then
punted.
send it back to what?
I'm letting you know right now, they will punt it right back. They will be like, there's not enough here. Congress, you're the ones that are going to have to fix this. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Liberal or conservative, that's what's going to happen. Because it's not up to them to decipher the gray areas.
And if they do it, they
some
can't. They
ways
gotta,
it is.
Yeah.
It is, but the gray, it's nothing but gray
Yeah.
at this point.
You're wearing a gray shirt.
And I'm wearing a gray shirt and a gray hat.
Did you plan that?
Waiting for blue skies. Finally. No. So, but anyways, so again, to close this off, just like Biden could have stopped the issue at the border, it's up to Congress to make the changes to the law for immigration. All right, because this all costs the taxpayer money, billions of dollars per year, but also coming from the other angle, you can't force people. You can't have this idea that, oh, well, we're just going to let these people in. Anybody can come in, but yet we're the ones that have to pay for them.
Right.
Right.
Doug said Congress, LOL. Yeah, pretty much.
AK wearing his Fed costume.
Uh,
You hush your mouth.
Fed.
Fed. All right. So I want to close this show out on a happy note.
Let's do
All
it.
right. And this is going because on Wednesdays we do, our funny viral videos.
Nice.
And
I'm excited.
Hold on. My producer just told me to check something out. Oh, okay.
What?
So let me blow this up a little bit because
No pun
I've got
intended.
something. That's what she said. We have U.S. Senator John Fetterman speaks out.
Yes. I've seen that, and I forgot to say it before because I was blabbering about it. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstrations, and immigration, but this is not that. This is anarchy and true chaos. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement.
Point blank, period. Now, that's a reasonable person right there. That's a reasonable response, and that's all we're asking for. We're not asking to take away free speech or the right to assemble and all that other kind of stuff. And let your voice. See, I think also like when they say things like make your voices heard, it's also kind of like how are people out there who are violent going to make their voices heard? I think it's also like in the wording too when people say stuff like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, I was happy about that. I was stoked. I seen it earlier. I was like, oh, AK's boy. Yeah.
John Fetterman, my Republican psyop.
Yeah.
I will say it to the day I die.
He might, like, if he ever does run for president or anything like that, he might run
He'll
independent.
win. He will win.
He might.
He would win.
He definitely would win a primary for
And
sure.
he would be really upset because Like, I don't know. He's hot one day, cold the other. It's like, I don't know if I want that as a president.
I know.
But anyways, going back to what I was saying, we do a reaction segment, and I had a reaction video that crossed my feed on YouTube that I hadn't seen in almost 14 years that I completely forgot about.
Well,
I want to share this with all of you. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. Y'all just going to have to listen.
all right.
So,
Hit us with it.
without further ado, let's go.
Racist field
Oh my
trip
God,
I have ever been on in my fucking life. They took us to a fucking cotton processing place. And there was a big ass cotton field out in the middle of fucking Raymond, Alabama, in the south of Montgomery County. We went there, and me and 28 other little nigglets in Miss Harper's third grade classroom, they took our asses out there in the middle of the fucking August heat and said, hey, y'all, they gave us bags and shit, like little cute little plastic bags. With a cotton puff person with a smile on his face, and they're like, "Hey, y'all go out there, have fun, pick as much cotton as you want." And so my stupid ass went. I went. My mama signed off on it and didn't think about it. And I went to the fucking field trip. Out there in the field, just having a good old time. We were singing songs and shit in the middle of the motherfucking field, picking goddamn cotton. In the middle of the fucking
way that he delivers the story,
I'm
too.
thinking, because it's a field trip, they told us you can pick as much as you want. Hey, you get to keep the fucking cotton. You can keep it. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep it. And we go to get back on the bus. They're like, all right, kids, turn your bags in. And they take our asses inside and took all the damn cotton that we had. And then told us to get back on the fucking bus. So me being a little rebel, I took a handful of cotton, stuffed it in my pocket, and went home. Then my mama came when she was doing laundry the next night. She was like, what the fuck, is this cotton in your back pocket? I was like, yeah. Where the hell did you get unprocessed raw cotton from?
Oh!
Well, yesterday on that field trip, they took us to a cotton processing plant, and we got to pick cotton all day long.
Jesus.
My mama carried to the school, and I swear to God, that shit went down. She locked this woman in a room like, how dare you jive-ass motherfucker take my kids and all these other ashy little Negroes to a fucking cotton field in the middle of the summer. You fucking soulless bitch. She fucking checked me out of school. I didn't go to school for 3 days behind that shit. She
Oh
said,
my God,
I
I'm
don't want to have to
dying.
look at that bitch.
My
She
glasses
was
are
pissed
foggy.
at everybody. Yes, that was the most racist shit I've ever gone through in my life. I didn't even understand what was wrong until the next year. I didn't even understand. I just thought we were just gonna go have some fun in the field. So fuck that shit.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Bro, I saw this 14 years ago and completely forgot about it until it came across my feed. And I was like, why do I recognize this? That hat and that face. And when he started talking, I was like, oh my God.
It came crawling from like the back of your head.
It did. It was just like, ding.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And I lost it.
Oh.
I can never watch this with a straight face.
No, he says
can't.
it so good too. Like that could totally be a stand-up routine right there. Like he would have the whole crowd dying. Like his friend looked like he needed to be put on a respirator. He was like over in the corner, just like his head like back the whole freaking time. I would have been peeing my pants if I was there.
Dude, my producer's
That's
like,
great.
this is one of my favorite videos. I just shared this a few months back. Hadn't seen it in years either.
That's great.
Oh my God. But anyways.
Good
thank you.
choice.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching tonight. Please go to riseofmiddleamerica.com. Right up at the top of the page. It's all our socials. Join our Discord. You want to be a part of the fastest growing podcast community in the universe. Come here. Got any ideas? Bring it to us. We've got ideas too. We need talent. Let us know. Come on. Join our Discord. All right. You want to support us? Go right down to the bottom. We've got our Roman Nation Network merch site. Let me see if it works this time. Hopefully, cross my fingers. And come on. Come on.
Don't walk into the.
There it is. Hey.
Cross my toes too. I think that's what did it.
All right. You know what? I'm putting up the shirts tonight. The new shirts.
Are you really? I'm
I'm gonna do
excited. I'm putting some money away. I want to go on a little shopping spree. I want to get a couple of things.
Yay. All right. So we got all the best Roman merch money can buy. We've got backpacks. We've got tank tops. We've got water bottles of finest hats.
Those
like the
backpacks
one
are
I'm
so
going.
cute.
They are. You know what? I think I'm gonna grab a couple of those as well and bring them to
Yeah.
the next Timcast event. Let's see
Yeah.
what happens. All right.
That dishwasher T-shirt.
Yeah, I should probably get that one too.
Yeah.
But anyways, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said, join our Discord, do all of our socials, help us out, make us the largest podcast community in the universe. All right. So, Biddy, where can we find you?
You can find me on X, Elizabeth213A. I'm also on YouTube. I haven't uploaded in quite some time. We got to do another music reaction one of these days when we have
my
time.
God.
We've been so busy.
Yes, I know.
But yeah, I'm on there, Elizabeth213 without the A. I had to add the A because apparently somebody has my name on X. I don't know who, but yeah.
Oh, what is this?
Oh yeah, that's the series that Valley and I is working on right now. It's another big one. I mean, we go into deep dives in these things where we're like connecting dots up the wazoo. So yeah, the Puppet Masters of Hollywood. We're gonna get
sass.
Yep, we're gonna get into the music industry on the next one. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, I can't wait to see that episode.
Yeah.
You guys have a massive following too when it comes to
This
that.
kind of thing, I think it just speaks to everybody. Like, you know, no matter what, like it's not party lined or anything like that. Like when you talk about, you know, people being manipulated and, you know, young kids being, you know, messed with in the industry and stuff like that. I think it's just everybody. Everybody can jump on that, you know?
Exactly. All right. Well, Biddy, thank you for coming in last minute and helping me out.
No problem.
It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
And yeah, absolutely. And I think today was Wednesday, right? Yep. So when exactly is that next episode coming out so we can let the audience know?
Oh, we're gonna try for this weekend. If we can get it all done and we get all the information that we need put together, then we will put it out this Sunday. But we'll definitely make a post and keep everybody updated.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I'm AK, your favorite guy. That's Elizabeth. Y'all have a good night and peace.
Hustle in my veins, no rest, no dream, trying to make a way. Whole team gotta eat. No sleep, gotta keep going. No sleep,